The Knots Company welcomes you back to Focus on Automation, where we explore and celebrate advances that empower manufacturing. Welcome back to Focus on Automation. I'm your host, Todd Youngblood, and today we're going to take a deep dive into what, in my opinion, is the key issue in manufacturing today, and that's workforce development. We'll discuss it from a variety of different angles with two guests that are both eminently qualified to provide some insight into this important topic. Please welcome Anthony Iacono, the president of the County College of Morris, which is located in Randolph, New Jersey, along with Patrick Enright, who's the VP of Professional Studies and Applied Science for CCM. Gentlemen, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having us. We're glad to be here.
Happy to be here.
Just to get us kicked off, I'd like to give our audience a little bit of a feel for the background of you two guys. Anthony, could you start off a little bit? Tell us about yourself.
Sure. I've been an educator for over 25 years now, starting my career teaching history at the college level. And partway through that, I segued into administration. And before this position was most recently the vice president of academic affairs at Indian River State College in Florida. And then in 2016, I became the president for County College of Morris.
Patrick?
So I've been at County College of Morris for about 13 years. Prior to that, I started at community colleges about 30 years ago, and started in as a math faculty member, progressed as a department chair, and then a dean over here at the County College of Morris over business, math, engineering, and technologies. Our Workforce Development Center was added to my area, and so we've been redeveloping the workforce programs here at CCM for, I suppose, the last 3 or 4 years.
Give us a little bit of a rounder picture of what CCM is all about. Tony, can you do that for us? Just a broader level overview before we dive into some detail?
Absolutely. We're a community college. We serve about 7,000 college credit students a year. We also serve somewhere in the neighborhood of about 5,000 workforce students. And typically those are individuals who are already employed, who are looking to upskill or transfer into new industries. But it can also be younger students who are preparing to embark on their first career. We're a comprehensive institution that's relatively new to us. We have been here for 51 years, and for the most part, we've been a highly successful, well-recognized academic transfer institution. Several years ago, we moved into a comprehensive-like model, so we're very, very excited to be able to support the workforce more comprehensively than we ever have before.
Pat, do you have anything to add to that, or did the boss get it right?
No, sure your boss got it right.
Okay, I thought that might be your response, but let's dive into the workforce development now in a little more detail. Pat, tell us what your perspective is in general. Give us a definition and the key issues in this whole area.
So let me just give you a little bit of history. As the president was saying, we've started to remodel our workforce area in the last 3 or 4 years, and prior to this, we had a fairly typical community ed area, which included not just programs for adults, but also some kid programs, a college for kids, and so on. But at that time, we started to receive a lot of feedback from businesses in Morris County and some of the surrounding areas, and in particular manufacturers, talking about their problems finding workers, finding trained or qualified workers. And so we were hearing that in so many different areas. Our decision was that, we couldn't do everything well, and that we really needed to turn the face of our continuing ed programs to meeting that need. And so that's sort of the origin of converting it to a workforce center. And now we're really focused on several different sort of niches within workforce in the county. And one of them, of course, is manufacturing. It's really probably the companies that have been most vocal about problems filling positions have been the manufacturers in Morris County, and of which we have over 800, but many of whom are just 50 or fewer employees.
Are the issues really different for the smaller manufacturer? I know you mentioned 50 or fewer employees, but I would think that for a smaller organization, the problem might even be more acute than a larger organization. Is that the case?
Yeah, it absolutely is. They tend to have, first of all, they tend to be a lean operation. All hands are on deck all the time. And so most of their energies are focused on production. and they have less time to be out creating an HR structure of recruitment and connecting with pipelines of qualified individuals. And so in that sense, we can really play a critical role. That we can be their one-stop shop. Come to us and we'll deliver qualified people to you. So for sure, for the smaller manufacturers, it's more difficult. We have several larger manufacturers who, of course, have large HR operations that can do their own recruiting, but interestingly, they visit with us regularly because they recognize that, the same pipeline of individuals will help their operations.
Tony, from your perspective, how has the demand for workforce development changed over the last 5 or 10 years? What's different now than a decade ago?
Well, I think number one, it's much more demanding. It's voracious, really. The one thing we hear from manufacturers as well as most leading industries is they just constantly need more people. And a lot of it's just what's going on in terms of they did a lot of hiring decades ago, so they've got a lot of retiring going on. They've got mid-level employees who could be the next generation of senior level employees, but they need more training. They've got entry-level people who could be the mid-level, but they need more training. And then they simply have to do more hiring all out. So what we're seeing is a very, very high demand as the workforce itself really shifts and changes. The other major driver to it is the technology is changing rapidly as well. And so a lot of what they want is related to the changes in the machinery that they're using, but also in how they train. A big surprise to us came a couple of years ago. We hosted industry roundtables, and each industry, including manufacturing, said, look, we've got to do a lot more training. And we understand some of it has to be live training, but can parts of it be online? They just said, we're so busy producing, we don't have the ability to release our employees for significant amounts of time to sit in a traditional classroom, but we're happy to either use the lab we have or put a computer lab in the workplace, pay them, and let them do that in between, shifts or what have you. So, they recognize the invaluable need for, ongoing training, but how they want it delivered has changed considerably too.
The Advanced Manufacturing Center, I know that's a major project for you folks. How's progress on that?
It's great. We are, Mother Nature has really cooperated.
Even in New Jersey.
Even in New Jersey.
How about that?
A little snow this winter, which could have really, really disrupted or delayed the construction of the facility. So we'll hit significant completion status in late March, early April, and we're on our timeline to do a soft opening this summer, begin running some classes in there, and a full grand opening in the fall. And I can tell you, in the words of the manufacturers in the area, it can't happen fast enough.
Pat, what impact do you see this having once you're opened and running at full speed?
This is kind of the culmination of several years worth of work, both developing programming, understanding what the manufacturers are looking for, at the same time as educating them to what we can do. We can't be everything to everyone, but we can develop training that is relevant to a wide variety of manufacturers. And so we've really putting the programming in place, curriculum in place. And so now when the facility opens, it's the rubber hitting the road, attracting individuals into manufacturing, which is its own, has its own set of challenges, but we're just excited to have facility that will give the flexibility to run our traditional credit programs, which again have been successful for years, but at the same time and in the same facility run workforce training, shorter term training. We can have a company send in 10 individuals any day of the week, and we can provide customized training to them. We can also be running cohorts of adults for short-term programming to get them into the manufacturing workforce. So, I mean, it's about to get very exciting around here in the summer and in the fall.
We expect it'll have an overwhelmingly significant impact, based on the manufacturer's response, but also from our school districts as well, who've been trying to put more students in the program because they do lead to great careers. The challenge is we've had a space issue. So we've been turning away classes of students for the past few years. So it's exciting as we don't have to say no to our vocational school or to our area high schools. We're able to say yes to those students, get them enrolled, and get them on the pathway to a great career.
Pat, Tony mentioned a little bit ago that the change in technology, the rapid pace of the change in technology is a challenge for the manufacturers in New Jersey. How's the Advanced Manufacturing Center going to keep up with that? Because I don't think the technology parade is going to slow down one little bit.
No, you're exactly right. And we're as challenged as anyone to keep up. I would, begin by saying that we have been very fortunate from a funding perspective to receive the support of our county and even New Jersey with grant funding and so on. So we are able to buy equipment and buy the latest equipment and look ahead to kind of predict what's next. We have to be, we're not we're not able to buy just anything, so we have to choose carefully. But we are, for example, in the new facility, we'll have a robotics lab, and we've received from one of the manufacturers already a donation, and we expect more of that. Another company, the Arconic Foundation, provided us funding for a machine, so we have a brand new machine on the floor. So, between county and state funding and the manufacturers getting on board, we feel like we're in a good place for bringing in new equipment, rolling out the old stuff.
We've been really lucky that the manufacturers have been donating machines for some time now. That was actually one of our first telltales that we needed to think about a new space. We literally ran out of floor space to put the machinery that was being donated. That's a great problem to have, right?
Boy, I'll say. Hey, in addition to the equipment that these manufacturers are donating to CCM, are they providing any training, train the trainers kind of things, perhaps?
We haven't really reached that level yet, but we're expecting, for example, we have a large apprenticeship grant. And I mentioned the programming that we're rolling out. And one of the significant programs we're rolling out right now are apprenticeship programs in manufacturing. And what that's going to require is that the area manufacturers, designate one or two of their folks on site to be mentors to apprentices and to come on our site and help guide the apprentices when they're doing the related technical instruction. So that's an area that's coming soon. We haven't really integrated them yet, but it's the next step.
Tony, are you hearing that from the marketplace as well, the demand for apprenticeships? I mean, I always think of Ben Franklin when I think of the apprentice in the print shop. It's really almost an idea that faded away, but is, I think, kind of roaring back.
It is definitely roaring back, and it's deliberately roaring back. So you have state governments, the federal government, and so forth, who are really pushing hard on these models. But at the same time, the number one thing Patrick and I hear when we're out in the community and listening to employers, manufacturers is, that the student has a degree, that's important. That they have certificates to demonstrate currency in their skills, in some ways even more important. But the number one thing we hear is they want to see that students can apply what they've learned right away. So they're really looking for students who have participated in apprenticeships, internships, something along those lines. And we've yet to meet anyone that didn't ask, do you have an apprenticeship program? Can we take on these individuals? And they've been, great for students because students can do the internships at different plants. They're giving them scholarships. And in some cases, even the scholarships can continue into 4-year programs. So I think employers are very, very smart to say, if we participate and support in this way, we're also going to get a highly skilled employee that's going to really help advance the company.
Where is the scholarship money coming from? You mentioned the county was supporting and as well as the state. Is the federal government involved as well in the apprenticeships, the manufacturing center, all of the above?
Yeah, we do have a $4 million federal apprenticeship grant, which was really, really fortuitous for the entire state of New Jersey. The grant is based out of County College of Morris, and then we work with colleges and organizations throughout New Jersey to develop new models of apprenticeship and really help manufacturers throughout the state advance their work entirely. The scholarships themselves are different. The scholarships originate with the employer, and they've been very, very generous, as well as community members who have made gifts to our foundation. So that simply continues to grow. But again, I think the employers really look at it more from an investment standpoint than anything else.
Yeah, I mean, that makes perfect sense. Especially we talked about the advance in the technology. If the lifelong learning process isn't firmly entrenched, I guess we're all in trouble.
Absolutely.
I think what I like just to tie into something that Tony said and that you were commenting on, that really for the companies, partnering with us and making equipment donations is really in many ways in their interest, in the sense that we're providing the next workforce. And I'll just give you an example. I mentioned the robot donation that we received. It was donated by a company called the Knott's Company here in Morris County.
Our sponsor.
And one of the points that they were making is it's not just simply about running the robot. They want to, it's important for students to learn how a robot becomes integrated in a manufacturing process. And that's the kind of programming that we're looking to run. It's more than just how does the how do you know how to move the robot left, right, up, down, but rather how do you integrate that into the operations of a facility.
It sounds almost like a mode of thought. It's one thing to know all the tech specifications of a given robot, but it's quite another thing to say, oh, I could do X or Y or Z with that robot if I added this or that or combined it with a current process. Is that what you're talking about there, Patrick?
That's exactly it. It's what manufacturers and what companies are looking for now is more than simply, I know how to write computer code, I know how to run a machine. They need people who can problem solve, who can think the next step. In other words, how can this machine be more efficient? How can we change the operation to make it leaner and that sort of thing? It really speaks to where we are in the 21st century with the training, not simply learning the mechanics of something, but understanding the entire operation.
A few minutes ago, one of you mentioned something about partnering with the local VOTech schools. Could you expand on a little bit on that? What sorts of things are you doing with those schools?
Traditionally, the VOTech school VOTech schools in New Jersey are county school, and all of these school districts within the county feed the vocational technical school. And the tradition is that they've run share time programs. And back in the day, school districts would send students for half a day to the vocational technical school for things like carpentry, automotive, that kind of thing. So that's been the model. The breakthrough that we had was about 5 years ago now, where we partnered with them, and instead of the school districts sending the students to the VOTech, the school districts through the VOTech are sending the students to the County College of Morris as juniors and seniors. And so the students come here. It's a traditional share time setup in terms of time of day and how it integrates with their high school. But when they get off the bus at the County College of Morris, we view them as college students. And the classes, the training classes they're taking are college classes in mechanical engineering technology, to name just one. So that again, it's college level work. The students are receiving over the 2 years, 32 credits of college coursework. And at the same time, the credit is what's known as dual credit. It applies to their high school degree. And we have just had enormous success with that. The initial program we created was engineering design and advanced manufacturing. And the first cohort was full. Already we're recruiting for next year's class. Already the applications don't close until March, but as of this date, we already have more applicants for the program than we have slots. And in the fall, we're anticipating opening a second program on the manufacturing side in electromechanical or robotics. So the model it's just taking the VOTech model and making it sort of a 21st century upgrade where the level of training the students are receiving is appropriate to what the industry is requesting now.
That's really fascinating. I mean, it's hard to listen to any news without the student debt crisis coming out. And I think there's so many high school kids going off to college not really knowing what on earth they're going to do. But the program you just described is preparing an individual in terms of knowledge and probably maturity as well to get some college degree, maybe get a full college degree, and then have a job coming out the back end of it, aimed toward a career. That's fascinating to me. Kudos to you folks.
And what I didn't add was that the students that are taking the college credit classes, the classes are paid for by the vocational technical school. So the college credits are free to the student. In fact, they're funding the textbooks, et cetera. So it's entirely free to the student, a full year of college entirely free. And as we like to say, they are job ready after when they graduate as a senior from high school, but they are also college ready. One more year it's at the college and they'll have their associate's degree, and they're even more job ready. And then if they choose, they can transfer to a four-year school and get a bachelor's degree, and they can do that immediately, or in many cases, they'll get employed immediately after graduating high school, and the employers will pay for them to go to school. So it's sort of a new model for free college.
I'm too old to take advantage of it now, darn it. Well, speaking of looking for job, the classic problem is always the employer is scratching his or her head saying, gosh, I cannot find enough people that have the correct kinds of skills. And if I flip it onto the other side of that transaction, I mean, we've all had that agonizing experience of looking for a job. How am I going to find somebody that wants the skill set that I have? Are you doing anything else to help ease that, for lack of a better term, matchmaking?
We had a good breakfast meeting this morning with manufacturers, and one of them pointed out, the challenge with higher ed is you guys always tell everyone what they need. So our school is a little bit different, I think, and I think I think we have company out there, but we should have a lot more in that. Number one, we have advisory committees. So we have industry professionals who meet with us regularly to advise on the industry's changing, and these are the skills that we need to see in your programs. Then we're able to develop or modify our curriculum to ensure that it's there, and then get feedback of how is that working. The nicety with the apprenticeship is it also gives us that close relationship with industry where we can get regular feedback. But we do hit the pause button periodically and do industry roundtables where we do bring individuals in and really have a chance to hear candidly from them. Are we meeting your needs and expectations? If not, what do we need to do? And the nice thing out of this is, yeah, we have a really well-aligned curriculum that supports their needs, but they also understand what we need. And that's why we have their equipment, on our campus. It's why we have scholarships for the students. And I think that shows that we're definitely on the right track. And as much as we appreciate our partners in manufacturing, clearly they have a great value for what we've been doing at the college too. And that permeates all the way down to our vocational school and our school districts. And we're a little different here than your area of how we're organized, Todd. So you're in Fulton County, right?
That's correct.
Okay, and you have one school district and it's county based.
That's correct.
Yep. Here we have in our county 41 school districts, and there are 39 towns, but there's 41 school districts, right? If you can get your head around that.
You got a lot more cats to herd.
You're not kidding. It is a little more complex, but a lot of the glue truly is, we have great support from the superintendents. A lot of the glue is the manufacturers themselves. And then from there, what we've been able to do we've had for years upon years, a really great relationship with that vocational school, with the other school districts. We have an executive superintendent who presides over all this, helps coordinate it with the district superintendent. So no matter how complex it is, you can make this work. It takes a little thought and a lot of partnering, but it's very doable.
From the job seeker point of view, when we've created our Center for Workforce Development, talking to the employers is one, as you pointed out, just one side of the coin. What we want to be able to say with confidence to someone seeking a job, here's a program, here are programs, and we can connect you to the employer. And so what we're trying to get the word out is, if you're looking for a job or you're looking for a better job, this is the place to come. This is the first stop, because we not only have the training, but we have the connections to the employers, and we have good confidence in our understanding of the employment market.
The other thing we do is we talk about, for this to really work, a big key ingredient is good partners. So we do work closely with the New Jersey Council of County Colleges, who has a very ambitious strategic plan to move these kind of models around the state to ensure that community colleges, among other parts of our mission, we are strong economic engines. We're able to support industry. We're able to attract industry. In New Jersey, manufacturing is one of the biggest industries. There's roughly 7,000 manufacturers. In our region of Northwest Jersey, there's over 800. So it's really in everyone's best interest to work together on this. But we host events here too. We work closely with the New Jersey Manufacturing Extension Program and co-host the State of Manufacturing Conference for New Jersey. And that brings a lot of legislators on campus, but it also brings the manufacturers from all over the state onto the campus, brings school district officials. So having those kind of yearly summits does keep everyone very focused.
Boy, I'll say we're getting a little squeezed on time here, but I don't want to let you guys go until we take a little bit of a peek into the future. And I'd ask each of you to just share a little bit, not that you don't have a ton going on already, but over the next 5 years, what else do you see adding to the programs that you're working on right now? Tony, you want to take a shot at that first?
Patrick just looked at me. I looked at him like, we have so much. No, really. Our cue is this. It's not putting together what we think we would like to work on. It's really working very closely to the manufacturers. And we follow very closely, where are they going, right? So we're always studying this. We're conversing with them. But I think clearly a couple of major areas we'll be pushing deeper into is robotics, in particular robotics management. What we're seeing is that fear that people had that robotics will wipe out a lot of jobs is not really quite panning out. We're seeing a lot of new jobs, and the number of new jobs related to that industry outpacing the amount of old jobs. So I think robotics management is a big part of our future. Photonics is certainly a part of this, and then really delving much more into artificial intelligence and its role in this industry and others.
And I would just add the cybersecurity aspect as it integrates into manufacturing, sort of the Internet of Things. Everybody's focused on the computers, but now, machines are connected to the internet and so on. So that's a whole other level that we need to get to. We already have a pretty successful cyber program, but bringing it into the manufacturing area is sort of our next step.
Yeah. I will say, Todd, one of our ongoing challenges, and thank you for doing these podcasts, they're invaluable, with this particular challenge is public perception. So a lot of times moms and dads envision that unless their kids go and earn a 4-year degree and they're sitting behind a desk, they can't possibly be successful. But nothing could be further from the truth, right? So we see no shortage of students who want to go into this field and realize that often with a 2-year degree going into manufacturing, their starting salaries are dramatically higher than individuals with 4-year degrees, and their future is much bigger than some of the 4-year fields. So, as a comprehensive school, we value all of our programs. We're equally excited about all of them, but we don't want people to write off the idea that manufacturing is a dead end or it has no future in America or anything along those lines. So just getting the public to think differently about it. This is not 18th century manufacturing, 19th century. This is high tech. And it really takes a very, very savvy, dedicated student to succeed in it.
Yeah, I got to tell you, I think about all of the negative comments you hear about manufacturing being the dying, dark, dirty, dangerous industry. And then here we are talking about robotics and photonics and artificial intelligence and cybersecurity and getting someone job ready right out of school. It's like, are you kidding me? It's a really exciting story.
Oh, it is. Yeah. Thank you for helping us promote that story. That's invaluable. And, but again, it's a challenge, but we see great things happening. Having companies like the Knott's Company and donating robots so that we can really launch these programs and sharing their expertise. We couldn't do these things without them and our other partners in manufacturing. If we did this as educators solely, I don't think we would be anywhere near where we are, and we really wouldn't be able to fulfill our mission of supporting this county.
Well, I got to tell you, it's really an exciting, terrific story. So, Anthony Iacono, the president of the County College of Morris in Randolph, New Jersey, and Patrick Enright, VP of Professional Studies and Applied Science for CCM. Gentlemen, thanks for taking the time to share your insights this morning. What an interesting conversation.
Thanks so much. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
That wraps today's episode. On behalf of my guests, Anthony Iacono and Patrick Enright, and our sponsor, the Knott's Company, I'm Todd Youngblood. Talk to you again soon.